two little packages today. I've got a feeling this will be my TRS connections that I spoke about in the last video. And here they are. Nice and small as expected. Now hopefully these are low enough profile that they will be very useful to me. I may have to cut them a little bit just to really force them into exactly how I want to use this. As for this package, yep, these are the tiny little stepper motors. So it's a pack of 4 where it comes with the driver as well as the actual motor itself. Now I believe these are 12 volts, so I got the 12 volts ones just to make sure that they had a good bit of oomph for what I want them to do. They'll be lifting things essentially, but I don't quite know how I'm going to implement that so that it works in the way I'm hoping it will work. I might have to use Unity for that just to get the accuracy. Now let's quickly have a look and see how far does this actually protrude. Ooh. So that comes just in line with this metal bit here, so I'll definitely be cutting this down a little bit. I'll see how low I can actually cut it down without losing the functionality of it. Though I would say I'd be able to get it down to the ring, so it goes in reverse order at the top compared to the bottom. So we've got TRS, that's the tip, the ring, and then the sleeve. And so the tip is the left channel, the ring is the right channel, and the sleeve is ground. So let's see if I just cut this plastic bit. I don't think, yep, there's no metal there. So I can cut that right down to the metal there. What happens if I cut this tip off? I mean, it's still there. You know, I've damaged this beyond being able to actually use it, so now I'm not as concerned. I'm just gonna start really cutting away at it just to see exactly how this is made and put together. So this is my sacrificial one. So judging on the plastics and stuff there, I think I'm only going to trim the top down a little bit and not actually go in and destroy the S and the R. So I'll just trim down the T pin that sticks out the top so that it can be a little more flush, and I may shave away a little bit of the R pin that sticks out of the top just to make sure that the T and the R don't make any sort of contact. But aside from that, so it's pretty doable. I may roughen up the surface a little bit just so that the solder sticks to it better, but looks like this shouldn't be too difficult. And because it's round, I don't need to choose a specific direction. I just know it's coming off at 90 degrees. Any 90-degree angle is fine. They all mean the same anyway. Now, the microphone bit on this has always been a little tricky because I've just sort of locked it in with this screw here. So it definitely has room for improvement there. This cable should nicely come up around, plug on in. That's the cable running down, comes up and around the lens, tucks nicely in there. Got it plugged in seemingly properly there. Alright, let's power on the camera and give it its first little test. Alright, so you should be able to see there's a couple of levels there on the screen. So I go click, click, click by my neck, and then click, click, click by the lens where the microphone is. I can't remember which way around the channels are. I think this is the left channel and that is the right channel. Now with that new wiring configuration, I'm able to put the camera down in practically any orientation and not have to worry about that wire sticking out and causing some damage, either to the wire itself or causing damage to the port on the camera, which would be absolutely terrible. And I can still use either the HDMI or the USB port on the camera itself. Well, that's unfortunate. There seems to be a horrible little noise, and that's coming from this microphone here. So there's something wrong with the wiring or the plug or something. There's just something wrong there, and it is not working properly. Maybe it doesn't like the way I wired it up. But that's really unfortunate, but everything seems to be working right up to the receiver here. Unfortunately though, there is still a possibility that it's there at the receiver that the fault is, or maybe it is up at the microphone where the fault is. Either way, there is a fault, and that is completely unusable. I will not put up with that horrible, horrible noise. Oh. Huh. Okay. I don't quite understand exactly what's happening there, but I've got that noise. And the really weird part is it's putting that sound into the little fluffy microphone that's on there. It's putting the sound into this microphone. And holding that out like here, it's a pretty clear bzzz. Actually, it's not even a buzz, it's a beep. 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 And then the closer it is to the camera, oh, louder, more consistent. Oh. If I hold it exactly there, it's at its quietest. But I can still clearly hear it, and that's a problem. I can almost not hear it if I hold it in this exact position. Okay, so that's very strange. I wasn't anticipating something weird like that at all. I thought it would either be working fine or just doing something a lot weirder. I mean, if I put this original cable back in, of course it's going to be working fine. But then I'm back to the same problem before of this cable sticking out way too far. Yes, I could unplug it after every use, or when I want to put it down, but you know, it's just an extra step that'll make me, honestly, it'll just make me not want to use it. I'm going to guess, though, that it is a wiring, it's got to be a wiring fault. But I mean, as soon as I take this away, it's sitting there about a camera length away from the camera. Perfectly fine. Can't hear the problem at all. Okay, let's plug a microphone into this port and see what happens. Okay, there was a little saw. Wow, that microphone there is giving me a ton more level than that microphone. Let me try it. Oh no, it's not a whole lot louder. Okay, my bad. I think I'm just overthinking some things a bit here. But man, yeah, no, that's super unfortunate, because it's like the exact cable I need and want. Oh, I don't like this sound. Oh, that poppy sound is horrible. What if I plug this in on this end? Now it's back. That sound is back. Right now it's a constant little whine, a constant little buzz. This is coming through, like, so the microphone sound is coming through just fine, but it's got that horrible buzz on it, that little whine. It must be a shielding issue. That's all I can think of it as, is a shielding issue. This is a real shame, because I put a ton of effort into this, thinking it was just going to work fine. You know what? Maybe I'll just unplug this. Oh, that was a horrible pop. Okay, I guess I'm just forced to put it back the way it was, even though I don't want it set up like that. That's unfortunate, because I wasn't able to find a cable that's even close to what I want. I both want this short length. I'd be fine with a physically longer cable, but I also, I want this very specific wiring for it. And just as long as it clears that side bit there, that's essentially my main goal with this cable, this little project. See this cable? Oh, it's dang near perfect. I think I'm just going to go back to having the single microphone on it, and if I really want to get a lav mic on me, I'll just have to use a voice recorder and sync it up later. At least until I find a cable that I want that does what I require, and that is shaped in the way I need. So I was scrolling Reddit the other day, and I kept seeing that people are posting that they're using Google AI to analyze their security camera snapshots so that they can get a brief notification indicating what the AI can see in the image. So I thought, I've got a few security cameras around. Let's see what happens when I start using this same free service, and how difficult could it really be to set up. And honestly, it wasn't really that hard. All I needed was to get an API key, paste it into Home Assistant, and set up an automation, and I was already in a position to be getting the notifications that I wanted. Some of the notifications that the AI sends through are a little odd, as of course it's only getting a single image, so it doesn't really understand the direction of travel or the intent behind some movements. So there are definitely some oddities in the notifications. But long story short, it was very easy to set up and worked basically straight away. I'm able to log in and get some stats on the AI that's been running. Admittedly, I'm not quite sure what most of the stats mean and what they're for, but I do know that I've got a quota, and that I very rarely go over 20% of that quota, with 2 security camera feeds going to the AI. The automation is triggered by the security cameras themselves. They've got human detection on it. So once the security camera detects that there's a human in frame, it lets Home Assistant know, which then says to take a snapshot. That snapshot is then saved to my Home Assistant server, which is then uploaded to the Google server along with the prompt. A few seconds later, I receive back the prompt response, which is embedded in a notification, along with that snapshot image, which is then sent to my phone or my TV, popping up and letting me know vaguely what's going on, though sometimes it is absolutely clueless. Sending through the security camera snapshot images through to the Google AI in order to get back a response has been really fun and interesting in what it's responding with. But I thought, what if I'm able to send through just that little bit more data? Now, you're restricted to a single image being sent through, but that doesn't mean you can't alter the image. At first, I tried stacking 3 images, each taken about 800 milliseconds apart, so that there's 3 snapshots over a duration of time. And I tried to explain this to the AI, but it would often get confused and just think it was a single shot with multiple people in it, which is not really what you want. when you're trying to figure out if there's someone on your property or not. I spent some time trying to figure out and alter the prompt that was being sent through to the AI, and I even tried using ChatGPT to help better describe things, but in the end I found that images over time didn't really work out. So I thought, well, maybe I could take a couple of cameras, stitch them all together so that I've got 4 images in one, and it can give me more of an overview of what's going on in the house and if someone is actually there or visible. Though upon trying that, it did get confused about the washing hanging on the line, so my only option there would maybe be to mask out that area of the property, as it didn't matter what kind of prompt I gave it, it was always confused as thinking that there was a crowd of people in my backyard. So whilst the Google Claude is not the smartest AI in the world, it is still a very powerful and efficient AI, able to return prompts quite swiftly as well as not costing me anything. Now, this isn't entirely an option for everyone. Not everyone has security cameras that will only send through a notification of motion detected when a human is present. Sometimes it'll send through when there's an animal or simply just a tree blowing in the wind. So I thought, I've got a couple cameras that don't have AI already built into them like that. How about I begin to set up Frigate, which is able to process things locally and figure out if it's a person or not. On its own, Frigate uses a lot of compute power in the Raspberry Pi, which usually renders down to a frame per second if you're lucky. Usually it just ends up freezing up, sometimes bringing it to a chug and crashing the system as it is. But if you get a USB Google Coral AI TPU device, you're able to offload most of that computing power to that, leaving the Raspberry Pi with just decoding the H.265 stream that's coming into it. Once you've actually got that coding and stuff properly set up so that it's able to utilize hardware acceleration, you can actually end up with a solid amount of frames coming through the system. Once the Google TPU is actually detected and working and running, it's able to give a lot of good results. What it does is the system utilizes simple motion detection to see when it wants to utilize the Google TPU, and if motion is detected, especially if you're using zones, it will then send those images through to the Google TPU. The Google TPU will then analyze those images based on the YOLO algorithm. I think it uses version 3 or 7, I'm not entirely sure, and from that it will be able to figure out if there is a person or a pet or a car, whatever you specify that you want to be looking for. At this stage, I'm still running on a Raspberry Pi 4B with 2 gigabytes of RAM and everything's on the SD card. So I'm not going all out on setting up Frigate and having all of that work, because it's just going to burn out my SD card, it's going to burn out the Raspberry Pi because it just doesn't have enough RAM to really do what I want it to do, and it's just going to be inconsistent at best. So I've just done a few little tests to see how the system's going to run. So soon, when it arrives and I'm able to, I'm going to be setting up a Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 gig of RAM plus a 128 gig NVMe drive. That should be great for longevity and make sure that I'm not going to run out of any space and that the drive isn't going to suddenly die for no apparent reason. Then I'll be able to link up a good handful more security cameras in order to give it a good overview of the property and the house. This will be able to give me much more useful notifications as well as send through those images to give me very informative data.